Hi, and welcome back to the Evolution Podcast with Mac and Jenn. My name is Jen, and this is Mac. And hi, and we are going to talk today about relationships again, and what? And we're going to talk about dynamics with families and relationships, right?
Yeah. So this is a interesting subject. I don't know if there's really a perfect name for it, but it's often what happens that begins to hold weight against your relationship.
Let's talk about the conversation we had the other night.
Which one?
The one about how I was like, when I was telling you why I don't like if there's problems in our relationship or in any relationship, like why I don't run to my family or my mom or my why I don't run to people to talk about my relationship problems
Or even the thoughts that
or
might come up.
or even thoughts. Like I tip it like our conversation was about how I was like, if there's anything going on in our relationship, or if I'm upset about something or anything, I choose not to run to my mother and tell her what's going on. The reason being is because I don't want her to hold anything against him. Because even though a lot of times when we run to our families, like I may forgive and forget, but like our loved ones typically don't.
No.
Which is why I was like, if we have problems, I'm not going to run to my mother. I specifically said my mother because she would be the one that normally I would run to, but I'm not going to because every time or if anything ever happens, I don't want her to keep bringing up the past. And I just don't want her to hold that over our relationship because if I forgive, she may not. She may never.
And she may not even understand why you did. And what typically happens is they'll have a shitty day, something happens, there's an argument or something, and they need to talk about it, right? Like they have this need to like share with somebody else or get validation or whatever. So then they run to the closest person to them and they tell them all about it. Well, he did this or she did that or whatever, and blah blah blah. And of course, that person's going to take your side. Like, think about it. Is there anybody that you know that's going to be like, yeah, but what? Let me call her. They very rarely will you find somebody that's willing to step up in the middle of it to be like, hey, man, I know you understand that you're complaining about her doing this, this, and this, but what did you do? Well, I did blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't. If I call her and ask her opinion, do you think that's what she's going to say? Well, I don't know. I guarantee you it's not. Her version is going to be completely different. You're not even going to know what went through her head. And so being able to challenge that, nobody does that. Nobody is like, oh, my child just brought to me a bunch of problems, so now I'm going to take the other person's side, or I'm going to listen to both sides to see what's happening and try to help this out. No, you're just going to listen and be like, yeah, that's messed up, man, like whatever. And we see this a lot. Okay, we see this where, well, I mean, I've even seen it where the guy, his wife is trying to make changes, like we're coaching his wife or something. She's trying to make all these amazing changes. She's making moves. She's becoming a better person, but it may not be revealed yet because it's hard to have those conversations when you're making changes in a relationship. So then she does something and then he takes it to his family. He's like, well, she did this, or his friends, she did this. And then he's like, well, I talked to this person, this person, this person. They all say that you're out of line. It's like, yeah, but you just built the evidence against your own wife, dude. Like, what are you thinking? Like, now they're going to be on your side. They're going to think she's crazy and everything else. So now, all of a sudden, when you figure out the truth that this is actually to your advantage, that all the changes she's making is now like you're going to win because of it.
And now, if things are going good between you and her, all your friends think she's a crazy bitch.
Yep.
That's sad.
And are you willing to go back and own it and be like, yeah, I was totally bitching, like I was a complete asshole, had my head up my ass, and she's not like, what she's doing is probably better than what I was doing. She's just absolutely amazing and blah blah blah. They're gonna look at you like you're bipolar as fuck.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Now you're the crazy one. No, man, she's got you whacked. Like she's got you whipped. She's got you like they're gonna fight a different battle, mainly because they're just not in your head. They're taking what you gave them and using it. That's all it is. So if you
So for me, knowing this, how this all kind of works, that's why our conversation came up the other night, and I was like, I will not do that.
yeah.
And what I think what I was trying to get from you was you saying, well, I will not do that either. And I don't think you will, but
No, and mine's not that way. Mine is I protect her. So if you think I'm gonna go bitch to my family, that's kind of they don't do personal development like I do. They don't understand how things work. No, it's just not there. So why would I take it to them? That it would be like the most foolish thing I could do, especially when it's like, this is my woman, my precious, amazing. Like I protect this. I like she is a gift from God. Okay, so when that is the scenario, if I have a complaint, first off, I'm going to figure out what's going on with me to create this situation, right? Like what's going on. Sometimes, yeah, there might be something to be like, what the fuck's going on? It might be an emotional thing or whatever. But often I can just sit there and be like, do I really need to concern myself or get worked up about this? And most of the time it's like, no. And because I take care of myself, I can be content inside of a little bit of emotional turmoil and just be like, there's nothing wrong here, and have a discussion with her. If I were to run to like, oh, she's acting crazy or whatever, I know that they're going to take a side, that then they're going to be battling against her, in which case I'm going to want to punch him in the face because I'm protecting her.
and it's just going to create more problems in the future.
Yep.
Hmm.
And it's either going to drive a divide between her and my family or me and my family.
Hmm.
Right. So there's never really a win in that. Now, one of the things that I do have as a guy is I have the kind of coaches and men around me that if I have a struggle that I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do about this, they look at me and like, well, what the fuck are you going to do about this? Like they don't take a side. They're just like, okay, I understand. I do that too, but like, what are you gonna do? They're very much personal responsibility. So if I need to, I've created what I need to help me fix myself, not fix her, fix me. Okay, like that's a me problem. She does what she needs to do. Like if she's kind of got something where she's like, what the fuck's going on or whatever, this guy's crazy, then she has places to do it. Obviously, not take it to her mom. So there's that, and I think one, it's human nature to need connection with people, and so when you're in a struggle, you need to tell someone, right?
I think the best thing to do is to create a dynamic where you feel safe enough to go to each other.
Yep.
But if that's not the case, close friends and family is not the next best option. The next best option would be, if you can't go to each other and talk about your problems and figure things out, you go to somebody who doesn't have a, what's the word? Who doesn't have a,
Like a predisposed disposition to you.
right. You go to somebody like a counselor or a coach or or somebody like, sometimes like, I wanted to say sometimes it's easy to talk to people on airplanes, but I think even those people will just sit and listen and hear
They'll
you.
side with you.
They'll side with you, but you want to go to somebody that has like that's looking through a lens of like what's the
They see both
truth,
sides.
both sides.
Well, like us, we're coaches. So somebody might come to us and be like, ah, da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, and validate your feelings and everything else. And then the last minute, it's like, yeah, I can hear all that and everything else, but listen, here's where you screwed up. And it's that simple. Like sometimes it's one little move or one little make, or sometimes it's just okay, I'll sit here and listen.
I had one lady that was like, this was a while ago, and she was called me and was complaining all about her. I think it was her fiance, complaining all about him, all about him. And she's saying he's such an asshole and he's doing this and he's doing that and he's doing this. And I talked to her, and I gave her a different perspective, a perspective that made her not see him as an asshole, but actually like where she wanted to get off the phone with me and like go jump on top of him. Like that's how I shifted her perspective so much. And afterwards she said, "Oh my God, like you are the only person that I talked to that actually put light on him." Because all of her friends all agreed with her. "Oh yeah, he's an asshole and F him, and you should, whatever, dump him." Where I was like, "Actually, no, like maybe this." And she was like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "I never saw it that
Yeah.
way."
Just a perspective shift. And typically those things start because of an insecurity that she probably had, where she was triggered, thought one way, and that's how it had to be.
And all her friends and all her family and everyone she had gone to complain about before me all validated and agreed with her, and kind of put more fuel on the fire, if you will.
Yeah, I've had the same thing where, one person was like, "Well, I can't believe they said this back to me after I said this to them," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're referring to like all of time, and the other person's referring to a singular moment. Look at the conversation that you just described to me. If we put it in this context, doesn't it make sense? Well, yeah, I guess. But if you just went and told your family that he's an incompetent asshole and doesn't like, well, how can he tell me that? How can he say this to me? Blah 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 blah. But when it's really you that were incompetent in seeing the discussion at hand, that it was a singular moment, not a vast moment, and you failed to describe it, failed to say, how can you not understand this in this perspective in context? Then he could have been like, well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this, or she, well, no, this is what's what. And typically men will singular things and women will try to stack everything into one conversation.
Mm.
So of course you're going to get this chaos, and then you go take it to someone else, be like, oh, they're an asshole, they're crazy, they bob whatever, and now you have two wars to fight instead of one, and that's going to really mess you up. And what becomes even worse about this is when this goes to the point of divorce and then it bleeds into the kids. That's a big, like, I will tell people, clients, I don't care who you are, when that stuff begins to happen with the kids, I'm going to give you a big go fuck yourself, because now you're messing with children. It's not acceptable, period. The end of story. Like, God gave you children, they're to be protected, taken care of, and everything else. When you take your shitty emotions and lack of ability to control yourself and dump it into kids and weaponize that against them and create conflict between what could be beautiful co-parenting, that's going to be on you. So that's when I kind of like, I don't care what she said, I don't care what you said. Look what you're doing to the kids. Let's fix this, let's change it, let's do something different. All willing to be forgiven and everything else, but like, let's not mess with the innocence of the of the subconscious mind of a child. That's something very, very big it's a whole nother conversation, to be honest. But this conversation right now is, one, her amazing awareness to be like, I don't want to do this. Like, why would I take it to anybody else? Why not just be okay, think it through, figure it out, and have a conversation if need be, but definitely do not try to fulfill an emotional need by dumping it on somebody else that is never going to understand when you stay there.
Mm.
Like, I can't tell you how many people would bitch about a relationship and I'd be like, oh, well, why don't you just leave them? Oh, well, I couldn't do that. Well, sounds to me like you're miserable. Like, it's almost entertaining to me, because when somebody piles it on me, I'm like, watch this. Like, they're going to come to me hating this person, and in like 3 minutes, I'll have them defending them like crazy, like, and I'll just go all in, it's almost gamified to me sometimes, where they'll say, oh, well, this person did this, they did that. Do you think that's appropriate? I'm like, oh no, man, you should just dump them right now, like divorce their ass, like everything. Like, you want me to call you a lawyer right now? Well, no, well, I just don't think it's appropriate, dude. It's not. Like, you should just divorce your ass tomorrow, like, get right now. Like, I got a lawyer, blah blah. And I'm just
Mhm.
like all game in, and then they start to tell me all like why not. I'm like, all right, so if not that, then what? Like, do you think? Well, and then they go back to the same thing. Well, do you think this is acceptable? I'm like, I think you're in a conversation that's so stupid to begin with. It's pathetic. Like, I think you're pathetic. And they're like, well, I'm like, no, look at it. Look at the big picture.
I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the story, we forget about the truth
Yeah,
and the deeper picture.
yeah. It comes down to ego.
Which is like what happens a lot with me is when people come to me and they're so wrapped up in the stories, I remind them of the truth, and then they're like, "Oh, oh
Yeah,
yeah."
I think I have a little more fun with it.
No, I don't.
But you help them, I help them in a different way, and I think the key is like, if you really feel like you need to dump, don't dump in your backyard.
Right.
Yeah, like, that's the big thing. Like, don't. It's like letting the dog inside to take a shit. Like, don't do that. Like, it's just gonna stink and it's gonna be a mess. So be respectful of one, the person that you call yours, right? Like, why would you try to tear them down? I understand you might have some turmoil, some internal stuff happening. You might need to get it out. You know, record a video of yourself getting it out. Talk to yourself. I mean, put your phone up and be like, that motherfucker. Whatever you have to do to maybe kill some of that energy off, and see like what would happen, and just like, so that you're not taking it and pissing in your own pool, basically. So don't do that. Do what you can. If you need to, find someone that can hold a good frame for you, that will challenge you, even though you're going to want to go to the person that's going to support you the most, because your ego needs to be fulfilled. But ultimately, like, think about this: if your ego really wants to win, then don't piss in your own pool.
And don't shit in your own backyard
Yeah, or your house.
or your house.
And so it's like, well, if I talk shit and take it to the people closest to me, what's that say about you? Right? Like, egotistically, like, I mean, if you have a big ego, it is what it is, but like, weaponize it against yourself to be like, that makes me look like a real idiot for being with this person in the first place. Like, I keep telling this person how bad they are, how bad they are, how bad they are, how bad they are, but yet I stay there. Like, I look like a fool. So I'm just gonna, yeah, let's not have that conversation. Let me go talk to a coach, that actually a good one, that knows how to hold space, that knows how to keep me in line and help me move forward and grow and be a better person, and discover something greater than I've ever seen before. So
I think that was a great episode of let's do a quick recap. What's the recap? I think the recap is don't pee in your pool.
yeah, to put it simply, don't pee in your pool and get all that all over you.
But really just I think create a space where you and your partner don't feel like you have to run to other people to dump.
Yeah, I think there's a whole nother level of training inside of the ability to,
Create that space for each other.
yeah, like,
Hold the frame. That's what you say, right?
yeah,
Hold the
there's
frame.
because I mean, like, there's something, can't remember what it was, but there's certain things, like, I might get triggered or she might get triggered, and like, maybe I did make a mistake, or maybe she did something or whatever, and it's like the stories begin to run in your head. If you're When you get good at being you, it also helps you get good at being like, okay, give it to me, right?
Like when I got triggered at church.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and just
There
being able
was
to talk about it.
there were some stories that went through my head and I very easily could have called my mother and been and repeated some of those
Yeah,
stories
he
to
doesn't
her.
listen to me. He doesn't value my opinion, whatever. And I'm over here clueless of the whole fact of the matter. And it was like, oh, I can see that. And then when she brought it to me, it was like, ooh, like, I can see that, and emotionally it hurt. Like, I was like, I do not like this, and I really don't like where her mind could go in this situation. And I can't say a damn word right now. I just need to keep my mouth shut and hold space.
Yeah, and when I was telling, like, actually decided to tell you how I was feeling, I didn't really need you to say anything. I just needed you to hear what I was feeling.
Yeah. And that takes an emotional strength for me not to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Or to get
no,
defensive.
keep, let me have it. Let me give it to me, and it was uncomfortable, and it was like, yeah, I could have done that a lot different, you know, and at the same time, I just had to own it, but I could not react as soon as if I would have reacted to her of like, what, and any kind of a snap judgment, then she's like, it isn't worth bringing it to him.
Next
I'm gonna
time,
take it to somebody else.
bring it to my mom.
Yep.
And then there starts all the
Yeah,
problems.
you open that door and then it's like it never closes.
Mm,
So it's certainly you have to work on yourself to have an emotional and like strength to one, have the conversation, two, hold space in the conversation, even if it is against me or vice versa. But if I had a conversation with her, it'd be like, hey, you know what? I got this shit in my head that we're gonna have to discuss, and you're not gonna like it. Right? She's gonna have to sit there and just listen. And then I get it out. And it's like, okay, I've said what I needed to say. You've heard it. Do you want to talk about it, what we're going to do about it? Or do we need to take a day to think about it or whatever? And she might throw it back in my face and be like, well, there's this and this. And then I got to sit there and listen, and so it's really about a safe space to have a conversation with the emotional integrity, not to attack the other person, and just be content and let it sit and just kind of think, how important is this for what needs to be done, if anything, or does it just need to be brought up? What's going on? It's not easy, and there's no right answer. There's just not. But the wrong answer is pissing in your own pool. So,
yeah. Unless you want to piss in your own pool.
that's swim by yourself. So,
But I just don't. That's why I brought it up to you. And, I knew that you would understand and be in agreement in the fact that, like, we come to, I want a relationship with a dynamic where we come to each other. That's pretty much where I was coming from, I think, when I even said it in the first place.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah, which is what I would naturally do.
yeah. And when I say that, I mean, I want to be able to come to you and feel safe to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you get to show up the way you do, which is so wonderful.
Yep. So
Mhm.
I think that pretty well wraps that up.
That's it.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Maybe
Mm.
this thing will work.